Hey there everybody, Lady Silver Vixen here, and this is part 2 of me talking about the Harry Potter luring kids and the witchcraft crap. This time I'm going to be a little more in-depth about why I feel the way that I do. The first thing is mainly because it's a bunch of crazy Christians going off the deep end. Any 10-year-old can tell you that Harry Potter is fiction, that it's fake. Yes, there have been a couple of kids out there that I'm sure have probably found their way to witchcraft through Harry Potter. However, most of them don't end up sticking with it. Wicca and any pagan path is actually a very difficult path to walk because we are so persecuted. And sometimes not just by Christians, but by anybody really. I mean, I've been persecuted by atheists. I've been persecuted by agnostics who don't even know what they truly believe in. But here's a good example. Not only did I read how Miss Linda Harvey defined witchcraft in my first video, but I'm going to read you another excerpt from her this article that was written by Crusade. Crusade asked her, "How is witchcraft affecting our youth today?" As she responded to it, "What's happening today is that our kids don't know scripture or Christian doctrine, because so many of them don't go to church." Yet again, this is not just the fault of some of the kids, but this is also the fault of parents. I'm sorry to those Christian parents out there, but if you want your kids to go to church, make them go to church until they are 13 or 18 or whatever you decide that they are ready to go to church and understand what a lot of this stuff is about and what religion is about in general. You need to force them to learn something about religion. And not even necessarily force them, because I mean it really all depends on what you personally believe in. And I'm sorry that this stuff keeps flickering in and out. The sun is coming up, and I'm doing this out on my porch because it's too hot to do in the house. They don't have the scriptural armor they need to protect themselves, and they are bombarded by the anti-Christian nature of the media and public school education they are getting. Like I said in my first video, it's really up to the parents to take charge over their kids. Quit pushing it off onto the teachers, quit pushing it off on the media and everybody else that you feel is responsible for your kids learning about this stuff, when in actuality you can choose what your kids want to learn, or, well, not necessarily what they want to learn, but what they will learn. I think it's a bunch of rubbish that, sorry about that, I think it's a bunch of rubbish that some of these parents aren't taking responsibility for their own children. Continuing on, in view of this, paganism seems more charming and fascinating to our children than Christianity, and they have rejected Christianity as being outdated, bigoted, and unresponsive. Now, bigoted. Let me touch on bigot. Bigot. A bigot is a person who is abstinently and irrationally, often intolerantly, devoted to his or her own religion, political party, organization, belief, or opinion, especially one who regards or treats those of differing devotions with hatred and intolerance. Yes, in most cases, I'm afraid to say that there are a lot of Christians out there who are bigots. I'd like to make a note here at this time about the whole Harry Potter thing. Harry Potter has taught our kids a lot about how the world sometimes works, and how having friends can help you through some of the hardest times that a person can possibly go through. I can tell you now that if I would not be here today if it hadn't been for a lot of my friends who wanted to try and help me through the times where I had the most difficulty. Um, Basically, magical practice in the real world is usually an aspect of spirituality and religion. In Harry's magical world, it is a physical skill without a direct connection to spirituality. So, a lot of kids get in for this big culture shock when they turn and try to become witches and try to practice magic. It's a real culture shock because they're not doing what they thought that they were going to do. Um, Throughout this entire article that I've been reading excerpts from, it just shows how truly ignorant some of these people are, saying that in Charmed, Sabrina was a bubblegum witch. Well, I'd like for this lady to tell me what a bubblegum witch is. Saying that Dungeons and Dragons, World of Warcraft, some of the Japanese cartoons and stuff out there, and they're not saying just some of the Japanese cartoons, they're saying all of the Japanese cartoons. Bakugan was one of the examples that I read in one of the articles. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, supposedly all of these anime cartoons are supposedly pushing witchcraft into people's lives. If anybody out there can explain that one to me, please feel free. I can understand the Dungeons and Dragons. I can even understand the World of Warcraft. However, the whole thing about Pokemon and that whole nonsense is beyond me. If you want to call a pocket monster a demon, more power to you. Because that's the only way I can figure out how they're coming up with this nonsense. Pokemon, literally translated, is pocket monster. A monster that fits in the pocket. I do have to say, though, that there have been a few Christians in this time who have actually been allowing Harry Potter to be mainstream. Chuck Colson, in his Breakpoint radio broadcast, commended Harry and his friends for their courage, loyalty, and willingness to sacrifice for one another, even at the risk of their own lives. Now, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that what you're supposed to do anyway? Isn't that classified as having good morals and good standing? Also, isn't that what our troops do on a daily basis? Colin dismissed the pagan practices as purely mechanical and opposed to occultic. That is, Harry and his friends cast spells, read crystal balls, and turn themselves into animals, but they don't make contact with the supernatural world. It's not the kind of real witchcraft the Bible condemns. Now that's from a pastor. World Magazine praised Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone as a delightful with a surprising bit of depth. Author Roy Maynard assured world readers that Rowling keeps it safe, inoffensive, and non-occultic. This is the realm of Gandalf and the Wizard of Id, not witchcraft. There is a fairy tale order to it all in which, as Chesterton and Tolkien pointed out, magic must have rules, and good cannot mix with bad. British Christianity magazine praised the series. In an issue, Mark Green, director of the London Institute for Contemporary Christianity, wrote a note of regret for not giving it to his goddaughter earlier. I wish I'd been the one to introduce her to Harry. Fine lad, you know, courageous, resourceful, humble, fun, good-minded, comes from good stock, you know. She could do worse, far worse, and as far as literary companions go, frankly, not much better. Yet again, that's from an actual Christian magazine. Part 3 will be coming up very shortly.